to evoke such emotions, but at the same, I mean, as well as moments of fun and relaxation. So good, intelligent background scores need to be produced to establish gameplay pace and express that level of intensity, whether it's stealth or exploration, danger, speed, urgency, tension. You can actually create a false sense of security with an element of surprise. You can, but why I said intelligent, basically we are constructing music so that we can use it interactively. We're talking about every time there are victory or failure stances, you have certain pieces for music there for those places. And then you've got feedback phrases like every time when you pick up an item or player's indication of poor health. But all of these elements have to seamlessly blend into the main score, and along with its many variations of intensity as the level is progressing. Now, common places which are very, very prominent places for music is our introduction, credit sequences, cinematics, cutscenes. Also the in-game backgrounds, which are where you have ambient tracks and battle tracks. Now with dialogue, in such a virtual world that everything is make-believe, the use of voiceovers is essential to communicate what is happening within the environment. Spoken word being such a powerful form of communication, it is only natural that modern games are actually making use of talented voiceovers and impelling dialogue for effective interaction. And it does keep the narrative flowing continuously rather than interacting it through text messages, as was done in the games in the past. From a design perspective, while knowing the purpose of voice, it is important to engage good writers and sustain good quality dialogue. And together with these writers, so you would need a good pool of voice talent to give your virtual characters a personality. There are certain personalities that have actually become part of a game's brand identity. For example, in Max Payne, the way he talks, his voice tone, everything is associated with Max Payne. So, as a designer, having a good sense of characterization and direction is important as well. We have character voices, we have non-human voices, we have vocal sound effects. Each one has to be given a certain treatment and a place in the game, so it is necessary to know how to create and morph your voice tones. In one of the games that I was involved in, Netherworld, it had this diverse cast of voiceovers who played very sinister characters. And besides, the task of the person who perform the task of directing these voiceovers, there was an entire post-production processing, applied to these voices to give them these sinister tones. And and the game had quite a hellish feel to it, really. So that's pretty much it. Well, with that point. Now, the user interface, it's not really an element of sound design, but it's one of the key areas where all three elements are actually used in a specific manner. I personally believe that some special attention needs to be played. It is the place where you set the stage for the player. It's where you would build a mood and characters so that the player knows what to expect. Your choice of music style, your sound effects will determine the impression that the game has to create, and as well as help build a game's brand identity. Menus are often the place where the main theme is introduced, primarily to further facilitate this brand identity. But there is also certain treatment given to the music at times. There is a considerable amount of time that a person spends on the menu making these selections. So it's normally kept at a very subtle place. It's slightly unnoticeable, giving the player an interesting break from usually you have this opening cinematic and you have this great drama happening, and then after you made your selections, you've got this varying intensities of music happening within the gameplay. Of course, you have other things like screen transitions and attention sounds, and though they are subtle, are present are present to audibly verify that the other player has selected what was intended. And the same goes for in-game controls, whether it's inventory, player health and status, map and messaging windows, all working together to give their appropriate feedback. Now the character of the audio that you do choose has to significantly reflect what